Now remember those sounds, because I'm going to ask you now to take out your clipboards, and in that you're going to find a worksheet. Here's good old Joseph on the front. And turn to just where you're going to see, let me hold this up. You're going to see a chart that looks like this, which is those vowel sounds, right, that we just used. On one of the blank pages, or on the back here, I want you to write your name vertically. So I would write mine S-A-N-D-R-A, right down the middle of the page. Okay. And then, once you've got it written, just share your name, tell us your name, and we'll go around this circle. And I want a little bit of a story. Like, how were you named that? What were the circumstances under which you were named? Well, let me just share by example. Sandra was not the name I used most of my life. I was called Sandy at one time. I even, when I was a little girl, changed my name when I was in kindergarten or first grade to Sally Mae. Don't ask me why. All my papers came home with Sally Mae on it. And everyone in my family had the Florence Faye, Sally Mae, Roy Ray, Emma Mae. I mean, it was ridiculous. So I didn't like my name very well at other points in my life. When I was married, then I changed my name. And my maiden name, nobody knows too much, is Schreiner. And I did not like the sound of that at all. So I kept my married name of Chassé, and I thought it was much prettier sounding. I also had some practical reasons for doing that, because my daughters and I were separated for some time in my life, and I wanted to make sure that we all had the same last name, so that if we ever got really separated physically from one another, that it would be easier to find one another. And then my last little story about my name had to do when I was in sound healing, the last session of sound healing from my teacher, Karina. And we were sitting outside at lunch one day, and one of my colleagues just looked at me and said, why don't you go by Sandra? And immediately my tears welled up, and she had triggered again cellular memory, and I just blurted out, because every time my mother was angry at me, she went, Sandra Mae, Sandra Mae, and it was always in anger. And so from that moment then, I began to work with my name, and that's how eventually Jaguar Woman Sounds came out. It's a long story that I can't go into now, but from that moment, I reached a point where I was no longer the little girl Sandy anymore. I was the mature woman, Sandra, of Jaguar Woman Sounds. So, we'll start with Misha, if you want to start.